Welcome to ADHD Mums. If you've ever offered to grab bread and seriously consider taking the long way home, not lost, just unavailable, if you keep everything running whilst quietly running on empty yourself, this is the podcast for you. No pep talks, no push through, just honesty. I'm Jane, let's get into it.
It's Tuesday. The note about the soccer photos has been on the bench for 4 minutes. And within that time, I'm standing at the kitchen bench, filling out that form like I'm filling in mortgage documents. Name, tick. Package, C, tick. Money in, correct money. Fold the flap, done. 7 days early. When I put it on the bench, I have a genuine moment of pride. I stood there and I looked at that envelope and I thought, who is this woman who does an envelope a week early? 2 kids, 2 different times, a week's notice. I had shit handled. My hubby usually works Saturdays, so I'd even booked a babysitter because 2 photo sessions on top of 3 kids' sports, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So I grabbed my babysitter. Wow. I was so proud. I even thought to myself, I must be really learning from these guests and really starting to practice what I preach. Famous last words. Then Friday, I find out that my hubby is actually going to be there, which never happens. Now we have 3 adults. We are stacked. We've got so much help. We are going to kill it. And do you know what that kind of situation does to a woman like me? I started to relax. And I think that then was the issue. Now that kitchen bench has eaten a Medicare card, 2 permission slips, a tax return in the last 6 months. That kitchen bench is not to be trusted. Saturday morning comes and my hubby is taking Mr. 7 to his photo. I say to him just before he leaves, envelopes on the bench, grab it on your way. Sorted, handled, off they go. Now I know exactly when Mr. 7 and Mr. 8's games start. But what time they finish is not information I'm very good at holding in my mind. There's something about what time a game finishes and then adding travel time that just breaks my brain every week. So it really wasn't a surprise that when I was watching Mr. 7 play, I realised that Mr. 8 was still with the babysitter and we had to go and get his photo taken at a particular time. I started full panicking, realising that he might miss his photo. My boys are born less than 2 years apart. So you can imagine how it would be when the photo packs come out for soccer and one has a photo and one doesn't. I feel like I would pay for that for a long time. When I was doing the maths, I thought to myself, if I leave right now and everything goes right, I'm going to be back just in time for the photo. But in these types of situations, I have never, ever once had nothing go wrong. I would like to blame luck or someone else, but I'm fully responsible for the way that problems come back to bite me. Because here's how I run a household. I don't change the gate clicker when it starts to warn me. I don't fill up the car when the petrol light comes on. I leave every single problem until it's officially a crisis. And so every day is a bit of a coin flip on which ignored thing detonates today. It isn't even 9 a.m. on a day that I said I was super organised and killing it just an hour before. I fly home as quick as I can to get Mr. 8. I get to the gate. The clicker, I'm clicking. It is not lighting up, but it does not do anything. I'm swearing and blaming everybody else except for myself at this point. The clicker does nothing. I did hear it dying weeks ago, but I filed it under Future Me's problem. But now that Future Me has arrived late at a dead gate, Future Me would like to have just a small word with Past Me, who really did have time throughout those weeks to change the batteries. It does seem like most of the problems I encounter in my everyday are things that Past Me couldn't be bothered doing and should have. But yet I also don't learn from this. So I ring the babysitter and ask her to open up the gate. And I think, thank God she's here. She seems confused because I haven't, in all of my relaxed Jane organised vibe, haven't even told her what time she needs to have Mr. 8 ready for his photo. I can hear they're in the middle of some kind of card game and I'm thinking, oh my God, he'll want to finish it for sure. As I'm trying to get in, I can't shut the gate, can I? So the dog runs straight out the front gate. And I think, oh my fucking God, this is the worst day ever. Now I am in the middle of the road, chasing around the dog who thinks it's a game, gasping, lunging, grabbing, begging. I don't have any treats. I have nothing to get this dog inside with. Now, this is not the friendliest street in the world. There is a major dispute going on. People in this street have got opinions. Me being out here, down, gasping, lunging, is probably the best thing that's happened to some of these people all week. Pretty confident there'd be someone at their window with a cup of tea going, "Oh, look, she's lost the dog now." Watching me run around, choosing not to help. So I'm trying to catch the dog whilst also not step on the neighbour's grass, because 1 foot on that verge and someone's calling the council, that's for sure. I eventually get the dog. I eventually get Mr. 8 in the car. We're late, obviously, and we drive to the field. I text the team in the group chat, running late. I text someone else, where are the photos even happening? No one responds, probably because they're getting their photos taken. I drive up and I start running over to the canteen, jump ahead of 10 people waiting for their sausage sizzle, which was a very unpopular thing to do. I know the canteen lady and I call out to her, "Where's the photos?" with pure panic in my eyes. Now, she speaks to me very kind, very gently, the way that you'd speak to someone who's clearly very unwell, which might fit me, and points back the way I've come because I've parked next to the sign that says photo this way. I've walked past it to ask where it was, right next to my own car, where she can see I've parked. And it's right then that Mr. 8 looks up at me and says, "Why are you always so stressed out?" All I can say is that I did not answer him. It did cross my mind that he's already worked out that his mum lives in panic and he's able to articulate that and ask me why, which was not what I needed in that moment. But the honest answer to why are you always so stressed is the one thing that you really can't say to an 8-year-old in a car park, because a neurotypical brain runs the whole day quietly in the background. What's next? What's been dropped? What's coming up? Where have I got to be? It doesn't even feel that background running. It just does it. But my brain doesn't have that switched on. So it feels like a lot of the time I'm doing everything by hand, whereas the neurotypical people have all of that done automatically and it doesn't cost them anything. A neurotypical person might talk about having a bad day one time, as opposed to an ADHD person's bad day happening all the time. So when people say, "Yeah, I'm late sometimes too," it's the same thing. So a lot of the time for neurotypical brains, they are running background self-monitoring. With ADHD, often it's under-engaged. So load that is automatic for a neurotypical brain requires a lot of effort for an ADHD brain, and it really drops under stress. So we finally find the team, we find the photo, and what do you know? Somehow they run late or they're waiting for us. I don't even know. I didn't ask the question. All I know is that they were standing there and I started gasp yelling to Mr. 8 because I was still panting from chasing the dog. He runs over much quicker than me and jumps in with the group just as the photographer is taking the photo. I'm still across the field, slow walking over, filled with relief that we actually made the photo. Just as relief hits me, I realise that Mr. 8 is actually now playing with the leaves as the photographer is trying to take the photo. He starts pulling up his shirt, and as he's pulling up his shirt over his face, I know exactly what he's doing. He would be saying, "I'm a turtle, I'm a turtle." There is 9 smiling children and there is one with a shirt over his head. I can see the photographer trying to encourage him to put his shirt down and no one really quite knowing what to do. I'm 40 meters away and I'm just yelling at him, "Put your shirt down. You are not a turtle. You are not a turtle. Put your shirt down." I know that one day he will find that photo and he will say, "Why am I a turtle? Why did no one stop me?" And at that point, I don't know what I'll say. He eventually takes his shirt down. I think they take the photo when the shirt is down. So I go over to the lady at the table and I say to her, "Oh, thank God that's over." My husband dropped off the envelope earlier when he did my 7-year-old's photo. And as she's looking up the last name, she's scanning. My whole stomach starts to drop. And I think, of course she can't fucking find it. Of course she can't. And I can see her stack of envelopes there. And I said, no, you've got to look in those envelopes. My husband dropped it off. She looks at the stack of envelopes. She looks at a list and she says, I don't have your child down as having paid at all. Not the envelopes missing, not paid, no record, even though I was 7 days early the whole time, but we're not even on the list. I say to her, that's okay. I'll just give my hubby a quick call. I go to call him. He doesn't pick up. Of course he doesn't. I go back. I say, don't worry about it. I'm just going to pay for both of them now and I'll fill out another envelope. And I think we'll just find the envelope with the cash in it later. Now, every word of this story is true. As I go to pay, my phone dies. For neurotypical people, this story seems unbelievable, right? For people with ADHD, this seems very on brand for a lot of us. So I have to walk back to the car to charge my dead phone to 3% so I can pay for the photos. I pay for the photos. I have never seen these photos and they were never delivered. I picked a digital option because I thought that would be a good idea and I wouldn't lose it. But what I did do was write the wrong email address on the form. And those photos have gone out to a stranger. Someone out there has got 2 beautiful pictures of both of my boys. One of them was possibly a turtle. And I have nothing. Everyone got a photo except for me and my kids. But at least it was even, right? No one can say one got a photo, one didn't. But when they handed out the soccer photos and I said, don't worry, I've got a digital copy, I kept looking and looking and looking until eventually I realized I put the wrong email address. And then, of course, when Mr. 8 says to me, where's the photo? I want to see the photo. I had to let him know it went to the wrong email address and I've been trying to contact them to get a copy. But no one can see the huge amount of effort that went into that and I still don't have the fucking photo. But people who think that ADHD is just forgetting something one time, being late once, they have no idea of how impactful and how consistent these things happen. Now, by the time I get home with my 3% battery phone, I've called my hubby a few times, it just rings out. I'm pretty ropeable about this envelope, to be honest, and I'm hunting him. I get home, he's on the couch. He looks too relaxed, I think. He says he thinks it's been stolen or it's lost somewhere. He was not able to respond to any of my calls or texts about where the envelope was because he's lost his phone. And I thought, of course he has. Nothing in our fucking family works, does it? Later on, I go into the office to use the printer. And what do I find in there? The envelope. The 7 days early envelope, the one that nearly put me over the brink of despair. What he did was he went to grab a pen, put his phone on top of the envelope and wandered off. He didn't take the envelope or his phone to the soccer. The envelope wasn't lost. He used the envelope like a coaster for his phone. I come back and say to him, babe, look, the envelope, I found the envelope and your phone. Your envelope and phone were next to the printer. And he goes, oh, great, I forgot I went in there. That's great you found my phone. What was that about the envelope? Was I supposed to give it to someone? Yeah, mate, you were. You were meant to give it to someone and you didn't. And I'd like to blame him and say it's all his fault. But the reality of the whole situation was it wasn't just about the envelope. We both have ADHD and it all creates a scenario where a lot of the times it ends up in chaos or we don't have what we need in the moments. A lot of the time when people say things like, oh, me too, I've lost things, I turned up late once, I think I have that too. It's not that they don't mean well, but respectfully, what you're describing is not what I'm living. If a neurotypical person turned up late one time and they remember it so vividly and they want to tell you about it, their one time 1 year ago, or you lost your keys once and it was a funny story at dinner, or you had a bad morning and then you laughed about it, they are actually normal days for some of us. When I hear neurotypical people talking about their bad Tuesday and how they might have ADHD, when they're finished talking, I just think to myself, is that it? Because that was my morning this morning and I don't even mention it because that is my baseline. So for a lot of us, those types of Saturdays are common. There'll be another situation. It might be a different dog. It might be a different envelope, different gate clicker, but it's the same shape. It's not a bad run. That's actually the wiring. And so when neurotypical people say things like, oh, me too, sometimes ADHD people can be offended because it seems like the neurotypical person thinks they know the place we live in. The place we live in, you came once, went home and told everyone about it for 3 years. And that is the real difference between a quirk and a funny story you tell at dinner versus a disability. The quirk might be the bad day, but that bad day for a lot of us is more common than we'd like, to put it that way. And next time we do the photos, I'll probably do the envelope a week early. I'll probably still put it on the bench because I won't know where else to put it. And I'll probably stand there and think, who is she? Wow, she's improved. She is now walking the talk, practicing what she preaches. She's so organized. Well done. Bless her. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.
If today's episode hit a little bit too close to home, then send it to a friend who also just popped out and needed a minute. This is ADHD Mums. We'll do it again next week.